Good afternoon. I'm Alyssa Miller, host of The Chosen Heroes, and thank you for being with me on this fine Sunday. We have a wonderful guest joining us today. His name is Ken Stroud. So before we get to him, let's kick it off with the Targeted Justice newsletter for this week.
There are hundreds of corporations that have access to the complete TSDB list. They are provided a daily update from NCIC, which is part of the FBI. There are more than 18,000 police and sheriff departments that receive the daily update from NCIC. Michael Glasheen is the current director of the renamed Threat Screening Center, also known as TSC. He is a liar that is violating our constitutional rights under the 1983 Civil Rights Act and the Bivens case. All it takes is one brave soul to leak it onto the internet, and we will have the complete list with all of our names. Stop the secrecy. Stop the fraud.
Every day, we get emails from TIs that think they know it all. They did not take the time to read our website or newsletters, developed from thousands of hours of research. They're usually wrong when guessing on how the technology works, who is behind it, and how to fight back.
Are ADS military trucks being used against targeted law-abiding citizens? TIs are attacked with microwave beams that have a typical width of 1/2 inch. The ADS truck is not capable of producing a small microwave beam. The beam that these trucks produce cannot curve or penetrate obstacles, such as walls or a sheet of plywood. Unless you are out in the open, it does not work. Plus, these trucks are large and would be easily spotted if they were parked on the street. Are LRAD trucks being used against targeted law-abiding citizens? These trucks are not a microwave beam weapon. They are an acoustic device that typically operates around 2,500 Hz. Within 100 feet of a person, they can cause permanent hearing damage. Cell tower microwave beam weapons have a range of 5+ miles, and the scalar wave will easily go through many buildings before hitting you. An LRA device is easily blocked by any wall.
Calling all digital warriors. Repost, like, and share this video on all social media. We're on the lookout for volunteers. You can let us know what your skills are by emailing us at tjustice2@proton.me. Put volunteer in the subject line. If you're looking for more targeted justice content, then go to the following link, which will take you to our channel on Rumble. We have our own branded shirts, cups, and other merchandise at our online store. Buy something for yourself or get a gift. We're always accepting donations. You can do so by going to the following link or sending us a check. The donations are tax deductible, and we're a non-profit organization. Thank you so much for watching this video. God bless. God bless. God bless. God bless.
Awesome. So I want to give a shout out to Target Source LLC. If Armando builds a wonderful device that has been helpful to many of those that are targeted, called the Silent Night. If you have questions on the different devices that he has that may be some benefit to you, you can reach out to him at silentnight.source@gmail.com. I want to give a shout out, as always, to TI Events. Tranquility does an amazing job of organizing, all the one-stop shop for all TI events. Every day of the week, there is multiple opportunities to plug in, to find solace and understanding that there are others going through the same symptoms and strategies that this program uses, these tactics. So again, it's very educational too. I'm always amazed at how much I learn just by plugging into different events and meetings. It's a beautiful thing. I wanted to announce my guest for next Sunday is Dr. K. Her targeted journey led her to help people find emotional freedom and transform their lives holistically with unique integrative body, mind, spirit techniques. And another event that I co-host with Jamie Rice is the next one is July 5th. And it is now we're moving into the next phase from going into the combat training, the counterterrorism, into targeted survivor counterintelligence training, bi-weekly teleconference sessions. And that is where you'll learn the poli-sci method to kickstart and fuel your inner healing journey. And the videos for the previous sessions, there's a total of 7 thus far as of yesterday, actually, can be obtained on the Chosen Heroes YouTube channel. I definitely, if you haven't watched one, I really hope that you embrace the one from yesterday. It was very powerful and just so inspiring. The link for joining the conference call is up on the screen. And if you would like to have materials from the previous lessons, because we always have like PDFs that go with it, along with the video, you can email me at chosen_heroes@proton.me. And then all the different ways to subscribe, follow, plug in, and like and share the Chosen Heroes. I appreciate each and every one of you and your support. You're just so amazing. All right, I'm going to go into prayer and just a personal message from me today. Father God, I thank you. I thank you for our wonderful guest here today and his, guiding him, protecting him in the days ahead as he does his advocacy work and speaks out against this electromagnetic torture and the targeting program. I ask that you touch everyone in attendance in their lives and come into their hearts, and even those that watch maybe later today or throughout the week. Father God, I just ask that you impart your wisdom. Give us the eyes to see clearly. Give us the ears to hear and the discernment to feel what is authentic and true and from you and the light. I ask that you wash over us with your healing anointing oil and heal the wounds. Get to the roots of these wounds that these programs use against us to torment us and try to manipulate and control us. And observe that root and transmute it and transform it into our self-empowerment and our healing journey. That everyone in attendance and those that are watch, let them be seated with the hope and knowing that their birthright is for them alone and for nothing of this world to take from them. We stand in our personal power, we stand in our authenticity, and we forge forward. And thank you, God, for surrounding us with your angels and the legions of angels that are surrounding all of us in our bravery to take action against and speak out against these horrific crimes that is of humanity. We do this for those that have fallen before us, those who do not have a voice, or some children and the elderly being attacked. And we do this for the future and for all that inhabit this earth and all its creatures. Thank you. Amen. So I have a personal message today, and I just felt led, when God's Spirit comes, it just flows. So I just wanted, for those who may not have seen this broadcast before and it's your first time, this broadcast is about not giving your power over to oppressors, but finding a way to outmaneuver attacks. It is about leaving the label of helpless victim that the program wants you to become behind and embracing the resourceful healing warrior within. Becoming resilient, empowered, embracing your inner healing, finding your higher self, and wanting to disconnect from helplessness. This is not being mind controlled, it's self-empowerment, the kryptonite to the program. This broadcast does not follow Pied Piper narrative that everything that occurs adversely in the day is related to the targeting. Stuff happens. While sometimes it's just happenstance or coincidence, other times it is the program. We cannot be consumed that every minute mishap or occurrence is the targeting program. I refuse to give my power of thought, attention, and recognition to those who design torment. The devil was the first bully. That is what my friend Lindsay Penn always says. And that is so true, because the devil, that cunning, taunting voice telling you you're not worthy, you're incompetent, you're not good enough, you're not strong enough, you're not pretty enough. All the personal garbage this program is designed to latch on to gaslight you. We must position ourselves to be open, not become so hardened that the light and God cannot enter our biofield. Speaking out about corruption, bullying, and things that harm others is what got me targeted. I don't regret it one bit. It is in my DNA to speak out. And no one will ever silence, suppress, or control me with oppression when oppression and injustice are afoot. I've always fought and advocated for the underdog. I was the underdog until I found my authentic voice. When I see harm, adversity being done against others, then I rise up. It's like a fire within me. And so can you. I will never be one to suppress someone's voice, their journey, or personal experience. I will never minimize or diminish what you've gone through. This broadcast is a safe place, free from constraints. It is a refuge from the storm. It's about healing and finding the hero within. If this broadcast vision should be altered or overshadowed, it simply will be no more. I operate in truth, transparency, and authenticity. I do not tolerate bullying and gaslighting amongst those who are targeted. We have had our cup runneth over with oppression. There should be no censorship, insult, or attack within our camp. There is enough division in this world. It should not be amongst us. If you read, hear, or watch something that is not in alignment with your authentic self, I ask you to question it and to reject it. It is your given right to do so. I am here for you. This is why I do this broadcast, for each and every one of you. We are the light in this world, shining a light on the darkness. Our voices are strong, and we are empowered to speak our truth. I'm going to bring up our very special guest, KEN STROUD, now. And I'm going to read his bio right now. So KEN was born and raised in Central Arkansas. He obtained his Associate of Arts from Pulaski Technical College and continued his education at UALR. KEN STROUD was the product manager for IP-based products at a major telecommunications firm for years. He also was part of leadership for the conversion from print to digital for the Arkansas State paper. He currently works in IT support for an international restaurant software company. He has been a victim of neuroweapon abuse for around 7 years. and is diagnosed with Havana Syndrome by Dr. Lydia Shajenko and is part of the Civilian database of Havana Syndrome patients managed by Dr. Len Ber. He also he's had scans showing that he has implants in his body that put off the radio frequency. And during his years of being affected with Havana Syndrome, he has fought against technology abuse by writing music and articles, working alongside nonprofit, fighting against electronic torture, giving presentations with the global scientific forensic community, and other groups focused on how to read spectrum analyzers and lower radio frequency levels in homes. So without further ado, let's bring Ken up to the stage. Hi, Ken. Thanks so much for joining today.
Thank you for having me, of course.
Yes. And Ken, so can you tell us kind of how it all kind of started out with you and began about 7 years ago?
Sure. I was actually just sitting in my living room one day, and all of a sudden I started hearing voices. I was hit with chatter, and I'd never in my life experienced any kind of mental problems of that sort. The only thing I'd ever had was anxiety. So that I thought that, okay, maybe I'm losing my mind. Maybe this is just a temporary situation. But no, it continued. So day by day by day, I went by. The chatter continued, and I had to learn how to live with it. It was extremely difficult. I fought against problems such as I attempted suicide a couple times, actually, because I just could not stand not having the quality of life that I had originally had. So I understand the suffering that a lot of people are going through. I understand the problems that all of us that are experiencing Havana syndrome in similar circumstances, diagnosed or not. I understand a large part of what you're going through. I had the pain attacks. I have pretty much everything everyone else has. But yeah, that's how it started. Sitting in the living room, and I started hearing chatter, and from there, it got worse over the years. So I've been targeted for quite a few years. It started with just the V2K, and it built up to pain attacks and additional feelings in your body that are very unusual, hard to explain even. So yeah, I've been through it.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that with us. So what led up, what was the discovery? What was the path, the journey that you took that led you to meet Dr. Lydia Shajenko and all that entailed, the testing that you went through? I know that a lot of our community want to know, what kind of testing, because you just don't walk into one doctor visit and say, hey, I've got all of this electromagnetic torture coming at me. It has to be a process. It's how you engage with the doctor, and then how the testing unfolds that leads into revealing that there is some traumatic brain injury that could be from the frequencies. Can you summarize for us how all that unfolded, what led you to see Dr. Lydia Shajenko, and then the testing, that whole journey that led up to your official diagnosis?
Sure. Well, it started with, of course, the symptoms, just like I explained to you.
Mm-hmm.
And it took quite a while before I really just started. I have to find answers. I really started digging. So I had to find answers. I started digging online, and I found Targeted Justice.
Mm-hmm.
I found People Against Covert Torture International. I found numerous groups, ICATOR, groups across the world online. I found that were talking about these problems, that were matching exactly what I was going through. So then I started joining conference calls.
Mm-hmm.
And on the conference calls, I learned with everyone in the community that Dr. Hoffer was the person that you'd probably want to visit at the University of Miami. So I booked an appointment with Dr. Hoffer. It took 7-8 months. I had to go to a neurologist first. I had to I had to get hearing tests done first. And so once I had that done, then I was able to go see him. And when I traveled all the way to Miami, I was greeted with, sorry, we can't help you because you're not an intelligence or federal employee or military employee. So since I'm none of those, he pretty much said that I would have to actually seek help at other places. He did direct me to directed energy weapon specialist, Dr. James Giordano, which I tried to contact. I was unable to get in touch with him. And Miss Gullum in San Diego, another directed energy weapon specialist, which I was not able to get a hold of either. So I continued my search. I went to see Dr. Deborah Heroes at the University of Miami, and she was able to run quite a few blood tests, and she scheduled MRIs and a bunch of other tests that continued to lead me down the path of trying to figure out, all right, who do I need to find out is the best person to get the situation taken care of? Maybe I can get fixed, continued on the conference calls, started working with forensic individuals such as Ms. Hollum. And after speaking to the people in the conference calls, Ms. Hollum and other people that were actually working with another doctor named Dr. Lydia Shajenko in New Jersey, Edgewater, then I was like, all right, well, I'm going to book an actual seat with her, and so I did. It took a few visits to New Jersey to get it all done. Didn't happen overnight.
Mm-hmm.
So there was numerous tests. Besto videography, I believe, is one. They do vestibular testing, which I believe that's part of it. They did a short EEG. And then the second time I had to come back, they did what they call a long EEG, where I had to wear an EEG on my head for 72 hours.
Oh, wow.
Carry around a backpack with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've met another Havana Syndrome patient that had those same stickers all across her head just a few weeks ago, whenever I was going through the scans with Jesse Beltran, as I had mentioned. But we'll get on that later. But yes, so then I went through the whole medical, another MRI, nerve conduction tests. There's more. I can't remember all of them off the top of my head that she did. But she did quite a few tests over the few visits. I walked New York a lot while I was there. I got familiar with the subway systems. I love it in New York now. And once I turned everything back in, Ms. Shajenko informed me that it's going to take a couple of weeks for her to go over all the data, and she'll get back with me. She allowed an actual call at the end of all the testing. Once we got through the physical testing, the blood work, and everything else, she didn't have to have me there. And then I was able to actually have a call with her, and because I live in Arkansas, and they're in New Jersey's a good distance.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, she gave me my diagnosis of Havana Syndrome with V2K. So, and one of the main things that she pointed out that she could tell was the level of anxiety and effects through the EEG that played a large role with her discovery in the process. So there's a lot of deciding factors that these doctors have when they're trying to figure out if you have Havana Syndrome, but the EEG plays a large role, especially the long one. They keep it on you for extended periods.
Right. Because it's almost like with that, it's like 72 hours without them not messing with you. It's just unheard of, right? Maybe in a short burst, they could back off a little bit.
No, they didn't back off. Every little pain.
Every single one. Yeah.
The chatter continued. The pain attack continued. She saw every little thing that happened in my body through that EEG.
Mm-hmm. That is very interesting. I also have been to a neurologist. I do have the vestibular damage identified. I don't think that he knows how to piece that to external influence of, the RFs, the radiation, the attacks, right? So I did have the short EEG done, of course, lab work, of course, making sure that the arteries there's no blockage, making sure that there wasn't any, lack of oxygen to brain, because that can prohibit all kinds of symptoms as well. When I went, I took Dr. Ber's advice, after him stating about how to dialogue with your doctor and stating the symptoms, but not interjecting a diagnosis, because I think that's where we can lose them unless they're familiar, really familiar. Like it seems that Dr. Lydia Shajenko is very familiar with these type of attacks. Obviously, she knew what to look for and did due diligence in your testing.
Yeah,
So
she's got quite
then
a few patients.
she's got quite a few.
Yes.
I had not heard of her, so very good information for this community. Knowing that this is not just go into the doctor's office and you come out with a Havana Syndrome diagnosis. This is a gauntlet of testing to rule it out, right? They got to, it's due diligence process. So, which can be costly if you're not on any kind of insurance and stuff of that nature as well. But it's a fruitful endeavor, right? Just to know, where you stand and what damage that has been done to your body. So once you got the diagnosis, then you registered with the Civilian Registry that Dr. Ber created.
Yes, yes. I felt it was important to make sure that I kept everyone in tune, since targeted justice had pretty much taught me about this type of condition. So I'd spoke with Len Ber once on the phone. We'd messaged back and forth a few times, and he started posting about the civilian database. And so I felt it was important to provide him with the information that I got from my diagnosis, so we can teach society about these problems more. So the more people he can have join that actual database, the more we can show that this is not just an intelligence problem. This is a problem across society, not just in the United States, but across the world.
I wish that we could find out more, Dr. Lydia's, out there for all around. Because, I mean, how many trips did it take for you to end up with this diagnosis to her? But then you had already went to Florida and had testing.
It took years to get to that point, but it took 2 trips to New Jersey, and then a third. It was 3 appointments. 2 were actually there. But it was more than that, because it took 2 appointments on 1 trip, because I had to have the long EEG put on my head. And at the end of the time, I had to go and actually have it taken off and everything. So it was 2 appointments, one of the trips, and 1 appointment and the first time where she ran all the blood work and the nerve conduction tests and things of that sort. So 3 tests or 3 actual visits to the office, and then one visit over the phones.
So can you tell us what the nerve conduction test, what does that reveal?
Shocks the daylights out of you. So they use a little device that they touch different portions of your body to see how your nerves respond to electro response. So electricity hitting you, shock. And by how, I don't know all the details, I'm not a doctor, but they're able to tell, if there's any nerve damage in your body from these type of attacks and things of that nature in regards to those tests.
Oh, wow.
But I remember, I remember jerking every single time it would hit me. So she shocked me about everywhere, all the way up and down my body. So,
oh well,
yeah.
that doesn't sound like fun, but
No,
I guess teaching the response of external influence against the nervous system.
Yep.
That's what it sounds like. Well, because I hadn't heard that one before. So very good information. So can you describe some of the main symptoms? Did you have balance issues? We know that it's the auditory effect.
Yes.
Whether you have the chatter, I've got that as well. And then sometimes it's the buzzing, hissing, metal chirping, all kinds of the humming, all of that stuff going on.
It varies day by day, to tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
The one constant is the V2K. That's every day. I'll have some type of pain attacks every day. There have been times where my actual perception, depth perception, and my ability to actually see things straight have completely just gone haywire.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't stay. It'll go away. So it's like these people have on-off switches for different type of attacks to your body.
Yeah.
Your mind. So it's it's a whole array of different types of symptoms that you'll experience when you're going through these type of situations. But yeah, I have been affected by extreme dizziness before, but it's not constant.
Yes, and when you started experiencing this, and about 7 years ago, what led up right before that time that you were just sitting, in your home, and then all of a sudden heard the chatter?
Well,
Was there any events that led up to it, or who do you feel that? Do you think there was an event that triggered this, or just was it just all of a sudden?
well, in my younger years, I lived kind of like a wild kid. So I had some individuals that were following me for circumstances I'd rather not go into,
Mm-hmm.
addiction issues, and I these individuals I believe were informants. I'm not going to point out exactly who they are, but I actually have names, but or at least one name, but I don't. I'm not going to share that over there.
Mm-hmm.
But they continued to bother me through a large portion of my life, on and off, regardless if I was doing anything wrong or not.
Mm-hmm.
And so it continued, but through the years, and then the last time that I was telling you about the living room situation, um, that was years after first meeting these people. So these were individuals that I knew, and I was shocked to hear the voices that I recognized through the V2K. Now, one thing I'll say is that the V2K, they can use voice modulation, but
Right.
they have actually tried to trick me, and these people may not be who I think they are, but
Exactly. Yeah, it can
but
be.
I'm quite sure I know who these individuals are because of appearances in my life. During one of my hospitalizations, I had an actual individual visit me. That was one of the three voices that originally were on the line. So then I saw a second one in my backyard. I got them on a recording of video. Don't have that video, unfortunately, anymore. But so I've got a good idea who these people are. I've been building up to, collecting enough evidence on myself and anything else that I can collect to possibly file suit in the future. But it's hard when you're, I do work full time. I have a job, like you mentioned, but it's hard to save up enough money and find the right attorneys and everything to go after individuals whenever you're going through these type of circumstances, because one of the number one reasons is here in Arkansas, I haven't found an attorney that's willing to work with me. Now there are attorneys that are in California and other states, but from what I understand, numerous people have told me that you need to find an attorney in your state. So my hopes have been that with my activism efforts and everything else going on, that this will all go away. I haven't had any problems with any type of addiction in decades. So I mean, there's no reason, if there is any association with that, for this to be continuing on me.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, just being a good person, being an activist, fighting against these problems in society might help. But getting diagnosed, doing everything I can to bring the truth out to the surface, writing articles on social media and LinkedIn, and I started writing music about these type of problems. I thought all this would help, but still no go. Everything I've done up to this point, only thing that's happened is it's gotten worse.
Mm.
So seems like they're fighting against my efforts. So,
Right. The more, and I can relate to that. I kind of, put this, to bed for quite a few years, and just, I didn't really, speak of it. I wasn't going to let it kind of rule me, but then I took another peek, at all of what has come forward and what has been out about this program, and so many people impacted by it. And so that led me to, okay, I want to speak out, and to do anything I can, maybe, leverage the years of experience, the tactics that's been used on me that can help, another person. Mine has been since 2012. So Yes, and there has definitely been it's been an uptick, but it's still not, it's not silencing me. I'm still moving forward, and applause to you for, helping others, because you, in the articles that you've written, the songs that you've written, you have been, you've worked with nonprofits and you've been advocating. So let's go into that as well. So
Sure.
should we play a song first, or
Yeah,
should we
great.
go into, you want to do it?
Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead. Go
So
ahead.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play this first clip here, and then Ken will tell us the inspiration behind the lyrics that he wrote.
Some crimes are invisible to most of the world. Our lives are indivisible. One nation under God. Mother Nature's calling, telling us to leave our minds alone. We have been running to protect what is right and what is wrong. Our minds shouldn't be our own.
That's beautiful. So, can you tell us, what were you you were just experiencing and decided to write the song? Can you share your interpretation of the meaning for us?
Sure. The song actually is called Invisible Crime.
Mhm.
So during my journeys, I went through the process of learning how to read an EMF meter. Uh, so I mean, I had no idea that there were a lot of things happening around me that they were. I was seeing high levels of radio frequency in my home. I was seeing high levels of radio frequency when I would drive around town. Um, High levels of volts per meter in my home, in two homes actually. And so these problems were coming from routers. They were coming from the, my actual devices that were connected to my router. I got to where I could no longer use Wi-Fi. I started using cables. So all of this is invisible to someone that's not looking for it. If you don't have a meter, you're sitting in front of your computer and you might be setting in 20, 30 times the radio frequency levels that you need to be setting in. Or you're sitting in a room that has a router that's running at 100 times higher than the levels you need to be setting in.
Mm-hmm.
So these type of situations were not happening to me before. So actually, when I was first targeting began, when I first bought the meter, I bought it because Targeted Justice had posted on their webpage that you need to buy a signal analyzer and you need to buy a signal generator. And the two devices, you could actually try to tune the signal generator and the amplifiers that you put onto it to bring up the signal running at the same spectrum range frequency that your V2K is running at. And they gave examples of what most people's V2K was running at.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to have the spectrum analyzer to watch the signal generator work. And I learned how to read it. And I learned how to read it next to routers and just holding it up to different pieces of equipment. And it really taught me a lot. So the thing that we're suffering as targeted individuals is the fact that these crimes are covert. They are not visible by the normal public. A large part of the public don't even believe they exist. So it's something we've really had to fight with, invisible crime. So that's pretty much what triggered me to write the song, is the whole fact of me trying to teach people and seeing their disbelief in regards to what's happening. So it's very difficult, and it can make you seem like you're a crazy person to a lot of people when you try to explain these problems. But that's why you go through the diagnosis. That's why you go through and you get as much evidence that you can, so you can speak out loud about these situations. So that's pretty much the basics of the song, is that these crimes, B2K, directed energy weapon attacks, data pumps through our equipment in our homes, all these things that are happening along with targeting, just, you can't see them. You can't see them unless you know how.
Yes. Yes, I mean, it was a beautiful interpretation of what we go through, and nobody understands or can hear us due to just not having anything tangible to measure it to. It's not public consumption knowledge, obviously. It's covert, as you said. So that was great. Let's go ahead, and I want to bring up your other song as well. And this one is Over.
So I don't lose my love and friend. I tried to hide from the world. I wasn't attacked by the spectrum.
That was beautiful. So the song is called Over. So we know we all want it to be over. So can you tell us your inspiration in your own words about what led you to write those lyrics?
Well, during all of this, amazing thing that happened is I met a wonderful woman in my life, and so we're engaged now. And
Congratulations.
Thank you. Well, and whenever the problems on the roads started getting to where my meter was going off extremely high levels, I was looking at 4,000 to 5,000 milliwatts per square meter being hit, which is really, really high levels. They were quick shots, but I would get hit 5 or 10 times every time I drive anywhere. And so it got to where I just didn't want to go anywhere. I just got to where I wasn't going to drive. I think I went a few months without leaving my home because of these situations. When they first started, I was so shocked it was happening. And so it started causing problems with my relationships and my relationship, not just with my fiance, but pretty much everyone around me, because I wouldn't leave my home. So the whole frustration, the whole aggravation of not wanting to go anywhere because of these problems caused me to write that song. I felt like that if I did drive, that over time there would be a deterioration factor that would cause me harm. So I wrote about how, with angel wings and halo over, if I continue to drive, that's what it felt. I felt like that's what it was going to be. I'm going to drive on over, in spirit, but not in body. So
yes,
it was out of fear. It was out of frustration. And I didn't want to lose what I loved in my life, the people, the people that are close to me. And so that's what the song was about.
Yes, this whole experience can be so isolating. Nobody truly understands what you go through on a daily basis. And it is hard for those that are in your inner circle to understand exactly what you're going through physically, mentally, and spiritually, just by the subjection of these tactics that are being used against us. So yes, and music is such a therapeutic outlet, expressing ourselves artistically, tapping into, those childhood, hobbies and things too. These are our way of staying connected with ourselves and not losing ourselves while we're being subjected to this daily. So it's good that you found that healthy outlet to create and to write and to express your musical talent. So, um, again, applause. They were very beautiful songs.
Thank you.
I'm going to bring up, you had presented to, it was this, let me find the organization that you presented with. It was the the Global Scientific Forensic Community. You gave a presentation.
I gave two, yes.
Yes. So I'm going to pull up a slide from one of your presentations. So this is about the EMF disturbances in relation to the neurotech abuse and targeting and using an EMF analyzer reading. So do you want to walk us through these points regarding the EMFs?
Sure. I just started by showing you guys one of the actual readings that I got one day when I was driving down the road.
Wow.
So, yeah. So that's the kind of things that were making me stay in my house and not want to go anywhere, which is extremely high readings. They were quick, they were fast, but it might happen 10 times on my drive. So basically in this slide, I've touched on what electromagnetic frequencies are. Just in a nutshell, instead of going over the actual scientific, it's your cell phone. It's the router in your home. It's the actual frequencies that are put off by the wireless equipment around you. Mm-hmm. So there's a large range of electromagnetic frequencies that are out there that they're called spectrum ranges. So different groups own different ranges of spectrum. So here in the slide, I also touched on that it's magnetic, so it has magnetic components. And also an electrical charge. That's pretty much the combination of what caused electromagnetic frequencies to take place, such as radio frequency. So data pumps to network equipment. I've mentioned earlier how I was seeing high levels through routers, through vehicles. I believe I was actually getting the same thing whenever I was seeing these readings. When I was driving my truck, I was also seeing levels up to 100 and the 200 that are constantly running in my truck, which shouldn't have been happening either. I tried to contact the manufacturer of my vehicle, and they informed me, unfortunately, they're not able to get all the radio frequency out of the vehicle this day and age. I don't understand exactly why, but I tried to get them to see if they could help me with that. I think the high levels, I don't know if they were blasting from the network equipment in my truck or not. I've tried to take out numerous parts of the actual networked equipment, but it still happens. So
do you think it has anything to do while you're on the road and there are others around you, and we all have some kind of device, right?
Yes.
The cell phone, so it's almost like a mesh network around you to just kind of like focus in on the radiation at you.
Hard to escape. Yeah. You can't escape every single person's cell phone around you. You go in a restaurant, you go to church, you go anywhere, and you're around numerous people's cell phones. You ride in a vehicle with your family, you're around their cell phones. So these cell phone devices, I've seen them, and I had my actual meter right up next to the units whenever they would push out 4,000 or 5,000 milliwatts per square meter of radio frequency. So I know what's happening from cellular devices. I know what's happening from routers. So are these pieces of equipment your own, or are they also coming from innocent people that are walking around you?
Right.
And people grab, Joe Schmo's phone next to you and whack you in the head with it with an EMF attack? I believe the answer is yes.
Mm-hmm.
So does that make that person criminal? No, it does not.
No.
Now, could there also be someone that's using a directed energy weapon on you that's more malicious? Possibly. But we just have to keep in mind that this isn't just a scenario of someone pointing a gun-like weapon at you. This is also your family's cell phones. This is when you go in your neighbor's house and you get too close to their router. So It's
It's
I
a
know.
way of connecting with you, and if you have your device with you too, to me, it's almost like, okay, they need something really close proximity to you, maybe your own phone. These other phones, or let's say Wi-Fi, you go into a store, and it's all connecting into what's close to you to project onto you, and can also project around you too. It's like just this invisible network of just radiation. It's really mind-boggling at the possibilities of how all of this can be achieved. I
Yes.
did start to give myself just personal peace. I found a very effective blocker bag for my cell phone. So, and it works because literally it could be on, you put it in, it's made by Mission Darkness. It's has a slot for, like, your driver's license or your keys. You can put your keys in there too so that they can't be tampered with. You have to fold it over with Velcro, and literally it could be on and that thing is dead. Because as soon as I pull it out, I give myself peace at a restaurant because there's already enough around me. I didn't know if that was a connector to me, my own phone, right? And I used to have like an Apple Watch. Don't wear any of that anymore either, because there we go with the Bluetooth and the
Yeah.
wireless.
If it's
And
connected to the devices with
yeah,
cellular, with that Bluetooth, we're in those things in your ears. If it's coming from your cell phone, do not. They'll just connect and straight pump to your head.
yeah, I don't wear any of the AirPods or any of that stuff anymore. Everything's hardwired. I bought a converter for the phone. But when I take that phone out of that bag, then here comes all the messaging and the alerts and all of that stuff. So that's how you got a good one, because if it's in there and on and you're still getting messages, then it isn't blocking anything.
Yeah.
So,
So I think the important thing on this slide to notice is I was kind of pointing out the difference on this particular unit is called a GQ EMF 390. And the reason why I like this unit is because it shows the 3 different levels that you need to read from to find out what's happening. So as I had mentioned before, the reading that it's on right now is milliwatts per square meter, MW/M2. That actually is, like I said, cell phones. That is your Wi-Fi connectivity. So that's what you need to look at for radio frequency, RF. Now, if you look in the top left-hand corner, that's what you would see most of the time when you're in your home. If you're pointing it at your electrical sockets, or you're pointing it at different electrical components in your home, you may see that VM level go up, 10, 20, 30 points. But I've had it in my home up to 2,500. So why that was happening. And then I moved to my fiance's house, and it was happening here too. So I've had electricians come over and they couldn't find a reason why it was happening. And so there's devices out there that you can get. We can get into the mitigation stuff here in a minute, but the last part I was going to show. So the electrical VMs, volts per meter. You want to make sure you pay attention to the electrical in your home, the dirty electricity problems that are happening. Those targeters are taking advantage of that. Now, the EMF, the electromagnetic frequency setting here, which is specific to milligauss. So a lot of times when you see a milligauss reading, that's coming from appliances in your home, out of all things. So you can hold that up to a can opener, and the milligauss will go crazy high on it a lot of times. I haven't had a lot of problems with spikes in milligauss, but I have seen it. But that's where you want to focus on in regards to the cellular and the Wi-Fi. That's the main problems I've seen, along with the volts per meter. Those are the 2 that have been the major problems. There have been problems with milligauss as well, but not nearly as bad as the other 2. So
you found that the milligauss is really connected to a lot of the appliances. I know that with, and I wish I had, kind of thought that through, but these days, with refrigerators and ovens and stuff, they all have that wireless component.
now your microwave's putting off milliwatts per square meter. So
yeah, I don't use the microwave anymore. I heat things up in the oven, but then it has a strong. I've measured with a tri-field meter. I need to get one of these EMF meters. The tri-field, it's okay, but this digital one, I like that format there. And for those, I'm going to put in the chat. You'll probably see it post 3 times, because if I'm broadcasting on 3 channels, it's going to give you 3 messages of the same. So the EMF reader that Ken is using is going to be the GQ-EMF 390 model, which Targeted Justice, I believe you said, has announced that as well.
I don't know if it's still on the webpage, but yes, that's where I originally saw it, as an article on Targeted Justice.
Yes, and it sounds familiar. This looks familiar. So can you just take us one more time through the different components? So the voltmeter is more like the static electricity.
Yes, it's like the static in your air. So volts per meter, it's the electrical current that's in the air, pretty much. It's the best way to think of it. It's also, if you hold it up to the electrical components in your wall, you can see where the wires are running by holding it up to it as well. So you shouldn't have, it's normal to have VM levels in your home a little bit. So that's not, you got electrical current all around you. But when you start getting really high levels, which I think one of my slides goes into the details of what those levels should be acceptable at, that we'll get on next, then you need to know the proper procedures for getting out of that area. And once again, the radio, like you mentioned, the radio frequency, the RF, the milliwatts per square meter, that's going to be cell phones, Wi-Fi, things of that nature. Milligauss, from my experience, is going to be from your appliances. When I ride in electric cars, sometimes I'll see that milligauss level rises. So there's, and the sun itself, I believe, has some milligauss that shines down upon us. So you may not ever see a complete zero on that actual setting, because it's another thing that surrounds us. But
if you're seeing patterns and spikes that are abnormal, then you can kind of see where, and if it correlates with your attack.
There's an ice maker in my house that puts off high levels of the milligauss. So,
really? Yeah.
One of the ice makers putting off high levels of milligauss, but I try not to get close to it.
Right. Yeah. There's certain hot spots in the kitchen, and that's usually when I grab my EMF hat when I'm dealing with it, because I refuse to not be in my kitchen. So it's kind of essential.
We have to live. We have to cook food. We can't just run from this stuff, but doing our best to mitigate some of the damage that we experience, especially if you're diagnosed with a condition like Havana Syndrome, which I believe it causes us more problems and more health issues than a person, because we're hit by this stuff more.
Yeah.
So we have more problems with it than others. I've heard that our brain, the film level in our brain, is actually much thinner than a lot of people's, because of our condition, because of the effects of the electromagnetic frequencies that are constantly attacking us.
Absolutely. And there was a question asking if you were blaming the cell phones and networks and not the government. No, that's not it. I mean, obviously there's this covert operation that is behind this directed energy attack. So I'll let you answer that, but
I'm trying not to point fingers too much, because like I said, the only thing I know, as far as I feel quite certain about, were informants. So I don't really have a lot of information on if true law enforcement is directly involved, or if there's some type of something else happening. Now, as far as there seems to be a common thread amongst society right now that's pointing toward intelligence. It's pointing toward a lot of different groups in our society. I don't have any concrete evidence of that myself. The only thing I've got is what I've given you. So I try not to point the finger too much.
Right.
I still reach out to groups and explain the problems that are experiencing, because I think that it's important just to keep everyone in tune. Just because you're blaming, or one individual is blaming law enforcement, or they're blaming intelligence, doesn't mean that whole group is bad. So there has to be good, even within the groups that may be causing these type of problems. So try to stay in tune with them. Try to make sure that we're communicating these problems to our governors, our mayors, our senators, our law enforcement groups, our intelligence. We try to make sure that I'm getting this information over to them through messages and through posts, and I'm fine with keeping them as connections on my LinkedIn so they can see what's going on. I might be communicating to some of the wrong folks at the same time. I'm communicating with the individuals within their group that had nothing to do with it, but those peers that are within those groups that may help the individuals understand they're making mistakes. That's what we need to have happen. I think that we need to cause everyone to understand what's going on, so there is more pressure to stop this evil.
Absolutely, 1000%. I agree with it. It's going to take, those that are around and witness this being done or abused, because let's say technology in all regards, anything technology wise can be used for good, and if there's a way to make it adverse, then there's that side that there where it can be misused and or abused upon others. And the witnessing, if there's no governance or regulation over such technology that secures that it is used for only the good purposes, and that there's a backdoor for it to be used for malevolent purposes, then it really comes down to there's no governance and no accountability over it. So, and until someone brings awareness, which we all know that in trying to advocate and to get the knowledge out there, we are met with the resistance of, sequestering the truth and silencing it, because then that means that someone bigger up, somewhere has to answer for why this was allowed to happen on innocent civilians. So we just continue to be that squeaky wheel and get this information out there, that don't recoil, don't retract, don't hide in a corner and wait for, another person to solve the problem for us, because we have to be united in this front, in this exposure, and to take action. We have to take action. We have to stand up for ourselves, for our quality of existence in life. We were not born to be subjected and treated this way. Let's go to your next slide. You have such great information. So these are the mitigation tactics for the high radio frequencies, especially in your home. So do you want to go into this for us?
Sure. I think we can just lead off from the last slide. If you notice, the GQEMF radiation detector card here, I think is very important to start with. So I talked about how do you respond whenever you find out that you are in a high level of radio frequency. So remember the milliwatts per square meter, it starts at 10. So 10 is normal. You shouldn't have any problems at all whatsoever. You're going to see spikes. They're going to go up. Using your phone, you could see 100, 200. It's not that unusual. But what you don't want is just to be setting in an area that's high. So when you get in 1,000 milliwatts per square meter, avoid that area altogether. 100 itself is not recommended to stay in that area for very long at all. These are GQ's recommendations, which I think are a pretty good standard to follow. So if you're above 10, just check it regularly. It's not a big deal. The way I like to check it is I'll look at the peak on my device to see what the highest level is that I've been getting around. And it's not necessarily I'm getting hit. Sometimes I'm just sitting in a room that might have a router running. And sometimes it's normal levels, but other times it's not. So that's where we just have to pay attention. Now, the volts per meter, per this card, anything above 500 volts per meter is avoid the area altogether. So if you're sitting in a hotel room and you start seeing high levels of the milliwatts per square meter or the 500 volts, which has happened to me during my attempt to get diagnosed with the condition in New Jersey, two of the hotels I stayed in, I was seeing high levels, and I got to where I just didn't even want to be in the room. I wore silver shielding. So mitigation tactics, one of them I did not touch on before I touch on the others here, is even the shirt underneath my shirt here is a lamb's shirt. It's actually silver on the inside. They call it wave stopper. And it helps block some of the actual radio frequencies and EMF levels that you'll have that hit your body. So since I've had this happen to me so much, I started wearing a lot of this gear. So made by Lambs, now purchased by Haven. You'll notice I've got a hat here that if you guys can see, it's got the Lamb's logo on
Mhm.
it, and the inside is silver, a wave stopper gear. And I think that's an important thing for a large part of us that are seeing levels like this in their homes and the places they travel, was wearing this gear. So the first step is making sure it's there. Don't get scared unless you you have to. Don't go out and buy a bunch of silver until you know you have to.
Right.
Stopper gear, but checking a meter, that's the first thing you want to do. Now, with the rest of the information on this slide, I said do not use cellular and Wi-Fi unless you have no choice. I've gotten that way. I don't even carry a cell phone hardly at all now. When I do, I use an eSIM that's loaded in the device instead of a SIM card, because I can go in and I can switch the eSIM off, and that makes it to where the device won't pump out any type of milliwatts per square meter. So where I've seen when I turn my cell phone off, or I turn it on airplane mode, or I turn the Wi-Fi and the cellular both off, it's still pumping high levels. And it's like, how in the world is this happening? I turned everything off and it's still doing it. So you just got to watch and make sure. The only thing that would make it go away before I figured out the whole eSIM scenario was letting the battery die completely. So you got to be careful with your equipment. Bluetooth, we talked about that. Anything connected to Wi-Fi or cellular, the Bluetooth devices can pump out in similar levels. And, considering a lot of people are wearing these earphones, you got to be careful to make sure that you got normal levels on your equipment. I started, since I don't carry a cell phone very often, when I travel, I'll have a cell phone in my pocket with the eSIM actually disabled, and the Wi-Fi disabled, and the Bluetooth disabled. And I don't see any high levels on it now. So I know how to carry one around. And when I have to use it, I'm putting it way away from me and put it on speakerphone if I can. I set it down. Another audio cables that are ran from equipment, they won't pump high levels to your head. So if you've got audio cable device instead of Bluetooth, you're actually using cables, you shouldn't see the same high levels. It's one thing I've noticed as well. I started using Zoom though. I loaded Zoom on my Mac, and most of my phone calls go through Zoom now. It's like $18 a month to have a Zoom line, and it's cheaper than my cell phone. Now, I keep my cell phone active because there are times I have to carry it, but I just, I have to be careful because most of the time if I turn it on, it's probably going to show some kind of high level. I don't know why that is, but it's almost worthless to me. I can't turn it on. Now, I went into the other side here of using wires. So Ethernet cables. So whenever I use Zoom, the Mac that I'm using is ran with an Ethernet cable instead of running through Wi-Fi or any type of cellular or anything like that. There's no wireless connection to this device. All of that's disabled on the equipment, and there is an Ethernet cable running to the device through a little hub unit that I've got. I've learned that using it that way keeps any type of high RF levels coming from your equipment. So it's a lot better way to use your phone calls through a wired piece of equipment, such as a Mac with an RJ45 and Ethernet connection to it, than it is to use it through Wi-Fi or cellular, your cell phones, your actual communications that you can use through Wi-Fi as well through your computer. They can all run high levels. But wired, you're good. So just remember that's one way you can help lower it. Another thing you may want to consider is EMF blocking equipment to put on top of your router. So there are shields out there that or cases that you can purchase, is a better word, that can help lower the radio frequency levels coming from your router itself. And so there's a lot of different, I'm not going to advertise any of the companies that do them. I'd like people to kind of dig in and check out the different options available. But just EMF cases, look them up. There's a bunch of different companies that provide them. And which one's best and which one's not, I don't want to advertise. So I actually, my first EMF case was not an EMF case. It was a metal bucket that I used to put on top of my router after I ran wires through it, because I ran the wires and I was so happy with there not being any actual high levels from my equipment anymore. I was like, but I'm still seeing it. Why am I still seeing it? Oh, the router.
Yeah.
I took this metal bucket that held basketballs in it. I set it over the top of it, and it just killed it all in my house. It went down to almost zero. And I was like, yes, I've done it. So from that point forward, I've continued to use wires. I've continued to put some type of shielding over my router. It's probably best to use equipment that's made for it versus a metal bucket like I did, because it could possibly cause a fire. So just look into the possible options of using equipment that's made for it, that's ventilated properly, so that way you don't burn up your router or cause any fires or anything like that. But I think it's an important factor for us, is to make sure we stay out of those levels. In regards to the rest of the slide, I touched on the VM in your home. I've been trying to find ways to lower the volts per meter. There's a few pieces of equipment that I've been looking at. I bought what they call green wave devices. They plug into your plugins, and you're supposed to surround the whole room, or actually go all the way to where your actual electrical box is, all the way around your house with every plug nearly, to get them to help. With the two I bought, I haven't made much change. I'm still seeing some pretty good levels in my house. It's not terrible, but yeah, it still exists. So I haven't completely solved that problem. Now, there's more industrialized equipment like sign tamers that you can have put on your breaker box. There's an EMF defense device that you can have put on your breaker box. I'm looking into these. I've yet to have one installed. I've got the actual EMF defense unit, or EMP defense, excuse me, is what they call it. An EMP, I think everyone knows that shuts down all electrical equipment. An EMP defense device protects your equipment from it. So if you mount that on the thing about an EMP is it covers the whole range of spectrum. So if you put one on your actual breaker box, it should help lower the VMs in your home. But like I said, that's still an investigation for me right now. So, but it does say online that it does.
So and it is called EMP defense.
That's one of the units that's available out there that's supposed to lower the VM levels in your home. There's also sign tamers. That's another.
And sign, and how is that?
SINETAMER, sign tamers. They're the ones that are made for dirty electricity in your home. If you look up the ones that are specific to lowering volts per meter in your home, those are the ones you want to get, because sign tamer carries a large array of different type of equipment that can be mounted to your breaker box. So you got to make sure you're getting the right one. My best recommendation is to talk to a qualified electrician to find out which one would be better. A lot of times the electricians may put additional grounds on your home to help, the grounding rods that to help lower the actual volts per meter in your home. So if you have a device that will help lower it from that direction, and then you put plugs in all around your house to green waves, I think theoretically this should help. And once I get done with the project, I'll let you know how much it does help. I'm having to do a lot of other things in my life, like sell a house, do repairs on the house, get married, go on vacations, that are planned with my family, all kind of stuff going on right now that's making me spend money 10 different directions. Where I have to pause from my mitigation tactics on and off and just live life. So I can't just live this, even though, so I wear my silver hat a lot, just to make sure, since I do have Havana Syndrome, that I'm staying out of this as much as I can.
Absolutely. Sometimes there are moments throughout the day, I just have to grab my hat, is it 100%, no, but it helps. It reduces it. It does. Have you used or tried any like earth magnets or anything like that?
I use earthing pads. So you plug it into the ground in your wall, and you put your bare feet on it, and it grounds you. So a lot of times people talk about you're grounded when you walk around barefoot outside. So that can stop if you're sitting in a room. When I'm sitting in my living room, I'm actually standing on a grounding mat, and I don't know how much it's helping, but I've read some good things on it, and it's good no matter what.
Right, exactly. As long as, I guess, it's not impacted by like the dirty electricity. I mean, you're using the grounding wire. I've got a grounding sheet, a grounding pillowcase, a grounding mat that I put my arms on while I'm out doing my work for a job, and I also have a vibration plate that seems to kind of help, interfere with the signal. I just, because I was having, swelling in my legs. So, and then if you sit all the time for work and it's just like everything is bottlenecking with all this energy in you. So I'll just put my feet on there and let it shake. And that seems to help as well, and also helps with your circulation. So these are just all the things that, we have to try while we're subjected to, these type of attacks. And good point out about the clothing and stuff. I think other than the hat, I've got the baseball cap, and I've got the like the beanie too.
I've got both of them. I've got both of those. I got shirts.
Mm-hmm.
Got underwear.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, they are kind of costly.
Yeah.
So have you experimented with other different brands other than the Lambs, or that's now Haven?
I have. I ordered a thyroid quarter that was just an Amazon-based piece of equipment. One thing I did was that same signal generator that I purchased when I started learning how to read the EMF detectors. I would set it on the inside of my gear, and I would check to see how much it's blocking. So I'd run the signal generator at, say, 20 milliwatts per square meter, and I would hold my EMF 390 up to it just to see, hey, how much is it blocking? How much is getting through? And that's one of the good things about having the signal generator is you can test your clothing. So,
oh yeah, that's good. That's a good idea. And
every time you wash it, it goes down. A lot of silver equipment, you lose 2 or 3% of the attenuation, I think they call it, for it blocking the attacks.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate, because you have to wash it from time to time, right? And then you're losing some of that strength. So, do you still use with the EMF reader? Do you use a signal generator still?
That's about the only thing I use the signal generator for is testing my clothing. I played around with it once, and I ran a spectrum analysis. Another thing you can do with these units is you can pick up spectrum ranges of the what's running through the milliwatts per square meter. And I had it plugged up to my home, and I was able to see the spectrum ranges that were coming through. So that's another thing, that by running the signal generator through the electrical of my home, I think I was seeing what was running through my walls. So but because whenever I'd unplug it, then I would start seeing a whole new different spectrum range. So buried versus plugged in, not plugged in. So you would see another range whenever that was just from your router and from everything else, versus whenever you plug in the signal generator, what it was generating. So I don't know if that was coming from my wall, or it's just things I've been playing with. I mean, it's good to know frequency ranges. It's good to know, who owns spectrum ranges, but because it may play a role in finding out where your targeting is coming from.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And so on the signal generator, what model did you use?
I honestly don't remember what the model is on that. That's was on the Targeted Justice page. I got the one they recommended. I'd have to actually look it up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have that off the top of my head.
No worries. Some of these model names and numbers are kind of hard to remember. So.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's just some letters and numbers. That's not really a brand name on these units. So, but no, I think we had touched on. I've got scans done to my body, and that I had this done from Jesse Beltran is his name. And when I was in New York a few weeks ago visiting with Goji, and she's the one that told me about the scans. And so I went and had them done, and they said I have some type of implant in my left ear, something unusual he's seeing there. And there's about 12 other locations in my body where it's putting off radio frequency. So what in the world's happening there? I don't know. So I'm going to have to look into getting panoramic view scans of my body, so that it becomes not just the technical equipment that's measuring this, but also medical equipment as well. So that's my next steps to go along with my Havana Syndrome diagnosis, Jesse's work. Now I'm going to go in and see if I can have other people find the same thing that Jesse has found once he finishes sending me. He gave me the preliminary results. I'm still waiting on the actual video results as well. So once I get those, then I'm going to take them to my doctor, find out or talk to him about who would be the best doctor to go visit to tell me more about what they're seeing inside my body that's putting off radio frequency and what in the heck is in my left ear.
Well, I know I do have a lot of pain and the pressure, and it's almost like a tune in of the high pitched ringing, and then I feel my head heating up and burning and that type of thing. But it seems like that, the ringing and the connection can happen on both sides, but more predominantly on the left. And I think there's been other people in the community that have, predominant left. Is there one side more, subjected to this for you over the other side of your head?
It's hard for me to tell. I've noticed that my V2K chatter, like I said, that's near constant. I have to, it almost causes me attention deficit type scenario where it's hard to listen to a person in front of me. I have to really pay attention if there's chatter going on that's heavy. The volume levels vary. A lot of times the weather seems to have some type of relation.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well.
Yeah. A real stormy day.
Yeah.
The volume levels are going to be lowered. You're not going to have nearly as high of a V2K chatter in your head than you would on a clear sunny day. On a clear sunny day, sometimes it can be hard to pay attention to people because you've got a hearing and noise situation going on where it's like listening to people.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it could be amplified with background noise, like let's say fan, you've got other devices going, a TV, air conditioner. It's almost like it projects, almost like it's like a little network. And other times it's just kind of the singular. So to me, the best advice that I can give, and it's taken me many years to kind of do this, but because I was always very sensitive in my hearing. Like as a child, I was, doctor said I had dolphin hearing because it was just, they couldn't even register it. It was so sensitive. So, of course, being, someone with sensitivity of that nature, going into restaurants and, ice crunching and all of this stuff going on around me could be really overwhelming to me sensory wise. And then to get hit with this. So it was like the world imploding, but I have to segregate those sounds. I found, ways to do that because it's almost like you have to equate the chatter to just in a restaurant, people are talking, it's non-relevant. It's not relevant. And trying to pick up on other signals to focus on. So it's more about how you focus in on what you're paying attention to, because it's really easy to slip into it, and then you're kind of in that entrapment of what's going on there, and then pull yourself back out of it. It just takes years. I mean, not years, but it really does take a very cognitive awareness of where you want to center your focus. So, you can use distraction with your music, background noises, what's going on outside, those type of things. And then that becomes your focal, your centered focus, and not that, and continuously to put it in the background. And once you're not feeding it, then it starves. And, it's like if they're not getting a reaction, or you're not acting on anything that is being said, or they're not distracting you in your task at hand, practicing task, focus techniques, making sure that you're, because it can be very ADD. You can just be scattered in your attention and your focus with it.
Yeah, one of the things that helped me, it sounds silly, but when this first started happening, I tried my best to watch television. And it seems like that was just a no-no for whoever's targeting me. It's like, no, you're not going to watch that show. We're going to chat louder and harder. We're going to keep you from paying attention. And so I would turn on subtitles, and I would turn on the television, and I would just focus. And it got to where I'm almost able to have I'm almost able to listen to two people at once now talk and hear both.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all, yeah, you can really tune in, and you could be multi-dimensional in what you're paying attention to, for sure.
I didn't have
Subtitles
that
is very good. Subtitles is really great, because
But-
you should be able to sit down and watch something and understand it, right? And to have that attention, but it gives that extra layer of attention by having the subtitles to focus on.
You're right, though. You said years. I think it does take years to really.
It did for me. I've been dealing with this since 2012.
It's like where you can have a job, where you can function, where you can be a normal human. Again, it took me years to get back to where I'm at. Now, I'm doing great with my job. I'm doing a lot better than I was with a lot of things in society, because I learned how to rise above. I learned how to hear the world above all of the mess that I'm having to deal with, the tinnitus, the chatter, everything. But it took a lot. And years of experience is actually a good way of putting it.
Yes, and what I found by being able to, it's almost like you're mastering it, of what is being done against you. You're outmaneuvering it. You're finding, the outlets, the back doors around it, or the channels through it, I should say. What it did, because I was so hypersensitive in my hearing, it's really desensitized me. So where in the past I would go to a restaurant and be really overwhelmed, and sometimes I do, because, with the frequencies and the phones and everything around me, I was able to not be so sensitive because of being able to, splinter out the different sounds, and the focus being on something else, so it did help me in that capacity, although I do think that my hearing has, with age too, and the experience itself, diminished too, so there's that factor also. Do you have some advice that you could give the community on, you have been able to rise above this and continue to have the needle moving in your life, meaning that, you've gained traction, and you're, continuing to succeed, and even though while under attack, just some general guidance for the community?
Basically, just don't give up. Keep finding ways to keep yourself strong. Try to stay healthy. Try to exercise. If you do happen to get, RF soaked into your body, non-ionizing radiation dissipates pretty quickly, for one. But one thing that'll help out with anything like that is exercise. Get out there, sweat. I go climb a mountain down the road from my house a couple times a week. Past week I haven't, but for the past few months I've been going a couple times a week and climbing a mountain. It's more of a hike than it is a climb, but I go out and I do that. For years I'd do 5 or 6 miles a day on a treadmill. So I try to stay in shape. I take vitamins. Vitamin C, I think, is a very important thing for people to take that are going through these type of problems, because it removes non-radicals from your blood, and that's pretty much what builds up in your system things that are not supposed to be there. So vitamin C is a good thing. I'm not going to go into all the vitamins you can take, but that one's one that helps most people. So it's just I take ester C, which is it's calcium-based vitamin C, so I can take a little bit higher levels, but be careful with taking high levels of anything. So, E vitamins are supposed to help out with the situations we're going through. So E, C, garlic and onion they help remove metal from your blood, and there's a buildup of metal in people's blood that are having these type of problems as well. So that's something else you might want to look at, are garlic pills. Cooking with onion more. So those are things that'll help you stay healthy.
Yes, I love they're staples for me, garlic and onions. But
I
I
just
just love them anyway. So
get you some of the garlic pills too. It's really good for you, regardless if you're targeted dealing with the problems we're going through or not. It's a really good.
it's healthy. I've even tried the raw garlic with the honey, and you have to go, you got to go slow with that because it can get you. But it's just very beneficial to the body as far as a nutrient. So what I thought I would do is let's bring up a couple of comments to the screen. So Craig LaForest has joined us, and he says, this is a wonderful video. I know we go through this daily, torture and abuse. I know these criminals torture and abuse on us. It's going to come back at them one day. Absolutely. And thank you, Craig, for all that you do for the community as well with a cater. And I'm so glad that you could join us today. All right. And let me see. I flagged a couple here. Let me go back to them. Well, we got some good chat. I always like to see everybody interacting with each other. Okay, so we did have one question here about what did all of these tests cost? So did you have insurance at the time? I know these can be very costly, even with insurance.
All the tests as far as Shajenko, it did cost me, I think, after my insurance, I think it was around $500 with Shajenko, and then there was a few hundred more for the MRI. It's going to vary with people's insurance what they're going to pay.
Absolutely.
So that's a difficult question to answer.
It is. It really varies.
It varies depending on your insurance, but yes, I recommend for you to have insurance before you try to go this path. Otherwise, it might be really expensive.
Absolutely. And just understand what your copay and your coinsurance is with your insurance provider. Know what you're expected to pay is your actual copay, but then are the testing covered, or do they have to be subject to a deductible? Knowing what your deductible is, and then once a deductible is met, then there's typically a coinsurance. Some plans could be like 70-30. So after, you meet your deductible of 500, 1,000, or whatever it is, then you are responsible for 30%, and then they pay 70. And then there's the whole caveat of in-network versus out-of-network. Does it matter? You have to understand what plan you have before you jump in, so that there's no, hidden surprises or traps for you, once you start this journey. And it may be something that you got to, spread out a bit as well. But unfortunately, the way most insurance companies work, it's all within a year. So once you meet that deductible, and then January 1st or whatever the enrollment period rolls around, then you're going to be subjected to that deductible starting over again. So
Also,
check
with the doctor that you're going to, if you're going to Miss Shajenko or whoever you're planning on visiting, to find out if your coverage actually is part of her network and if that is insurance she takes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be an important factor as well. So don't just go up there thinking that, hey, my insurance is going to work.
Right.
That's going to be the first thing she's going to check. Is her individual runs the front desk. She's going to check to see if your insurance is going to actually cover everything or part of it, or be part of the actual coverage at all. So yeah.
Yes, because in some policies with insurance, they allow you out of network, but it's at a more higher, contribution to you, meaning that they may, after a deductible, pay, 70% instead of, if you were in network, it may pay 90 or 80%. So just knowing all of the facts going into a doctor before you go, and so that you know what's going to be expected of you. And then you could even call ahead of time your insurance company, knowing the testing that the doctor may need to order, and see, number one, does it have to go through a process of approval? On some of these tests it does. Generally, most times they will, but it has to have a reasoning behind it. And just make sure that you know all the facts up, so that you know what your expectation is, and there that you can see it through.
Yep.
All right, and let's see, I had another one flagged here. Yes, here's one. So Keeper of the Flame is asking if you had any unusual brain waves were found while you were being tested, that, the call outs, that did the doctor mention some?
Yes. I was mentioning that the EEG showed that I had extreme levels of anxiety. So the aggravation that you get from having constant V2K, it just it's gonna raise those levels on the actual EEG. I know there's alpha and there's beta. If you really want to learn about EEG, you could look into getting what they call a Muse, like a Muse 2. There's different levels of them, and they are pretty much home EEG based devices that can help you understand how the EEG reads the actual body. And I've got one. I play around with it, and you can store raw data. So if you're having an attack, someone's hitting you hard with pain, you could put that on and store the raw data of those attacks on the actual equipment.
And you said this is called a Muse, M-U-S-E?
A Muse, yeah, it's an M-U-S-E Muse, and Muse 2. I think Muse 2 is the one I have. I don't know if they'll stand in court, but it doesn't hurt to record some of it, just to kind of understand the different waves, and how pain levels are affected to your body versus how the constant chatter is affected to your body. When someone walks in and they start speaking to you, how that jumps up and down. There's different applications that you can install with your Muse, so you can see how your body responds to external stimuli. So it's a neat device.
It sounds really neat.
What the doctor's looking for.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just, I love the analytics of trying to gauge, and especially like you said, in the spikes. Is it just in regular conversation, the person that is speaking to you, as we all know, certain people might spike you just in their interaction alone. You're like, whoo, I feel drained after that person. But yeah, I'm sure that would record it, right? Someone that you have good camaraderie with versus someone who is, just bringing the noise with them. And then just while you're having a painful attack, just all of those different measurements to see it, and the interaction, and how it impacts you. I know when I had a lot of testing done last year, there was like a different type of stress test. Not there's the one where they hook you up with all of the stuff, and I think that was actually, but it was a little bit more thorough, and it really measured the high amount of stress, just being there, knowing that I needed to be testing with all of this too, with all of the attack. I think that also, it increases our oxidative stress levels, obviously. That's where cortisol builds up in our body, and that's not good. Finding a healthy way to manage that, like exercise, being able to just, find some things that bring the things that bring us joy, right? We can never lose sight of that. We have got to make sure that we feed our spirit and our soul, and be able to enjoy. And because when we get too much immersed in all of the happenings, and because the experience itself, and you can watch a lot of different videos and read a lot of different posts, and it's just, you have to let your mind have that space to process and to exhale and to assimilate that information. But if you're constant bombarding too, it's like you need to ground yourself, and grounding yourself means get away from the articles and all of the videos and stuff for a moment and plug into, go outside, appreciate what beauty that can be and surround us in this earth, and to never lose that hope and that connection. Well, is there any other, words of wisdom you'd like to give to this community? You've just really given such great content, and the way that you understand how to measure these and the testing that you've done. And thank you for your being so forthright and sharing this with the community, because, sometimes we can hear this information and it doesn't all, make sense. But the way that you articulated it was, very, very digestible for me, because I've been wanting to do the signal analyzer and generator too, but I was like, oh, another thing I got to figure out and try to understand how to use. But
I never was able to block the V2K doing that. So they said if you run the same spectrum ranges, I was not successful with that. But I did learn how to read the meter, which may have helped from causing me all kind of damage to my body in the future. So
I think that reader is so important, because if you're feeling it and then knowing what that measurement is, then you've got to go into countermeasures of how can you shield yourself in this high area? Is it temporary? Is it perpetual? What can you do to minimize that impact, that bodily hit?
Yep. So the one thing that you had mentioned is the silent night. I have one of those as well, and it does a pretty good job of blocking things out a little bit. And but I still have the individuals that are using V2K on me. It seems like I said, it seems like they're able to crank the volume a little bit. Whenever I find ways to block them, they'll find ways to get through. I think you had mentioned you have 2 of them.
I do. I have a backup, because that's how much I rely on it at bedtime.
Yeah.
But what I found is, once I have to kind of adjust the antennas and move things around, because it seems like they're determined to come around at a different angle, so that they can get.
No.
But then I also have the grounding sheet and the grounding pillowcase. I also wear quartz crystals at bedtime too. I've got all my different, and sometimes I even put my hat on. We're going into battle when we go to try to rest, right? So,
yeah, I know.
It's suited up for battle. So you just got to try different things and experiment around, because we have to, for our own health and longevity, have some rest and some downtime. And sometimes they make it more difficult than others. So, but yes, thank you so much. Let me see if there's any new messages that came in. It looks like, here's someone who's in agreement that they're putting the subtitles on when they watch television as well. And it also allows them to follow as well, so they don't get lost and change the focus of the video. Good comment. Good comment.
Something else to chatter about.
Yes. Well, I mean, we just have to find ways to have some peace, and we have to experiment. And music, art, creating something with our own hands is a great outlet. That is constructive, something that is good and enriching for you. That's what you should be chasing, for sure. Even if it's something small, that is a win for the day. Well, Ken, I'm going to put your information back up, because Ken has a LinkedIn page that has a lot of information and his articles that he shares to help educate. And that link is there on the screen. And Ken has also graciously opened up that if you have questions or need some advice, you can email him at KEN STROUD@protonmail.com. Ken, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure. A big thank you on behalf of the community and myself. You were a real joy to speak with. Gained a lot of great information in this episode, and God bless you on your journey, your upcoming marriage, and thank you for the advocacy work that you do for this community.
And thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you.